20th, 2023. Niagara Region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and the town of Grimsby stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we need a mover and seconder for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Freg, second by Councillor Bradzi. Moved by Councillor Freg, second by Councillor Bradzi. Resolved that the September 20th, 2023 Planning and Development Committee agenda be approved. All in favor? That's carried. All right, next we'll move to receiving the Planning Committee meeting minutes and the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee meetings minutes. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Freg, second by Councillor Bradzi. Discussion? Member Potter?
Thank you, Chair. I have two clarifications requested on the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee minutes. I think one relates to, let me just get the minutes. Section 8.1, page 9 of 54 of our package, the last paragraph there. It's a bit of a run-on sentence. And I could read it that modern material is being requested to be moved back into a heritage building, which doesn't make sense from a wording perspective. So I would request a modification to that statement to say where, and it does have the where possible, but after the word landfill, instead of saying including, I think that word including is a bit misleading, and it could say, for example, the old exterior brick veneer, where possible, if of heritage value, be reintegrated into the heritage site. I'd like to see, obviously, planning staff's or heritage staff's recommendation on that, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a run-on sentence for me.
Bianca?
Thank you, through the chair. So I think the intent of this provision or this resolution was that we wanted to make sure, firstly, that the exterior brick veneer, which is a reclaimed historic brick, be offered to the salvage company and not going into the landfill. So maybe we'll just start a new sentence after and just say, and that wherever possible, the reclaimed exterior brick be salvaged and be reintegrated into the site wherever possible. So you can adjust that. I can give that wording to you, Jessica.
I'm supportive of that, just for clarity. Thank you.
All right, just for proper procedure, moved by Member Potter, second by Member Bradzi, resolved that GH 23-034 and GH 23-089 from the Heritage Committee minutes of September 12th, 2023 be lifted for separate consideration. All in favor? That's carried. There.
If I may, Mayor, the second comment I have on the Heritage Committee minutes is procedural, I believe. Under Section 9 of their minutes, pretty much the last page, actually page 11 of 54 of our minutes, of our documentation, sorry. The Heritage Committee is recommending the Council of Grimsby consider the establishment of the Grimsby Heritage Working Group, with lots of other wording in there about seeking funding and other things. My understanding is that the Advisory Council reports through this committee, and I would suggest that that committee should be recommending to this Advisory Committee be requesting this committee review what that is, what it means, what the options are, what the resourcing required, what the costings are, and then this committee would make a resolution as appropriate to Council on any recommendation recommendations coming out of that. Just for procedure, otherwise it's bypassing this committee, which doesn't seem appropriate.
Bianca?
Thank you, through you, the chair. Yeah, so the Heritage Committee would consult with planning. Ultimately, it would be council that would be granting them that. But this is an opportunity for you to provide that comment. So maybe that's a resolution you can pass, and then your resolution along with that one can go to council for their consideration. And then we'll get some kind of direction forward from council, and then we can, if it's for us to take it back to Heritage Committee and then for them to provide you with more information, then we can do that.
That makes sense. I mean, I think, this committee being briefed on what this actually means, because it's a fairly short suite. I'm sure that there was better discussion at the Heritage Committee. I don't have enough information available to me at the moment, so I think I request, if it's okay, that procedurally, I'll leave to people to know more about procedurally how this would work, but this committee receive a briefing on what is intended here, and then report through our process to council, or report through it back to Heritage. Would that be would that make sense from what you said, or is there a slight difference in there?
Through the chair, I was just going to add, so just to give you a little bit of background, so the intent of this working group they want to put together is to provide additional community support while we continue to protect heritage buildings. So maybe we can ask for additional consultation to be done when it comes to specific pieces. That way the group can continue to move forward, because I know they like to start doing some work to support the community, but maybe we could break it up to have some of those pieces that are about like resources and things like that. So I'm just going to review it, and maybe I'll send an option over to Jessica. Is that okay?
Councillor Frake.
Yeah, just a quick question. So this is, sorry, Mr. Mayor, to you. Is this a subgroup of the Heritage Advisory Committee with using the members that are on the committee?
Through the chair, yes. So it's a working group of the Heritage Committee. So they have to meet in a group less than quorum, and then they can do research and things like that on ways to support the community. And then once they have collected their information, they have to present back to the committee, and then the committee can pass a resolution that would again come through planning and then to council. So they're not going to make any decisions that are not approved by council. It's just an opportunity for them to start seeing what the community needs and things like that.
Do you need, I thought that advisory committees could establish subcommittees without having to go to council for approval. I mean, that's within your committee using your same members. I didn't think we had to go through that process.
Through the chair, for Heritage Committee, we've always had council approval for working groups. I can check with clerks if that's required, but in the past
because that group is going to be reporting into that Heritage Committee, and they're not through us, and eventually through council. So we will still see it first. Whatever discussions you have, whatever minutes you have within that subgroup will come here first anyways, right? Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah, so the working group will present to Heritage Committee, then Heritage Committee will make a recommendation as a whole that will then come to Planning Committee for consultation, and then to council. So no actual money or anything will be spent without having consultation with the committee and council.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just following the wording here, that the Heritage Committee recommends the council consider establishing a Heritage Committee working group. If procedurally it says in their terms of reference that it can do that anyway, I'm not sure why it would be asking for council approval. Yeah.
Through you, Chair. So I just consulted with the deputy clerk, and she confirmed with me that the working group does not need council approval, and so this may just be, the confusion may just be a result of the wording. So while it may have been practice in the past, it is not required. So the committee would be able to approve their own working group, and then this filters up through the minutes, if that provides clarification for everyone.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy with that process.
That makes sense to me. It was confusing wording within this document and seemed to bypass this committee, which didn't seem to make sense, but.
That's the way all the other committees work.
All right, so any further questions on this resolution? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradzi. Resolved that the following minutes be received. Planning and Development Committee of September 6, 2023, and Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee of September 12, 2023, as amended. All in favor? That's carried. There are no delegations this evening. Now we move to consent reports regarding the official plan and zoning bylaw consolidations. Need a mover and seconder. Moved by Member Potter, second by Councillor Bradzi. Any discussion? Seeing none, resolved that the planning and development, moved by Member Potter, second by Councillor Bradzi. Resolved that the Planning and Development Committee hereby approves the following items, that the various consent items be approved on the recommendations as contained therein. PA 23-31, PA 23-32. The report PA 23-31 Official Plan Consolidation 2023, dated September 20th, 2023, be received for information. 2, that report PA 2332, Zoning Bylaw 1445 Consolidation 2023, dated September 20th, 2023, be received for information. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to a report from the Building Department. Need a mover and seconder to get it on the floor. Councillor Bradzi, Councillor Frake. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Through you, Chair. I'm here to provide a staff recommendation report for a variance to the sign bylaw. The Town of Grimsby sign bylaw 9745 limits a wall sign area to 10 square meters, whereas the subject sign area is proposed to be 13.6 square meters. This is shown in Appendix A of the report. It's also worth noting, in Appendix B, the Ministry of Transportation has approved this sign for the variance size proposed. It is in the Building Division's opinion that the sign variance request is minor in nature, as it does not negatively impact adjacent signs, buildings, or obstruct any sight lines that would impose a hazard. The sign fits into a location on the building that it was architecturally designed to house. We believe that due to the size of the building, it is more complementary and proportionate for the sign this size. Thank you. I can take any questions.
Questions? Member Potter?
Thank you. Just a minor one, relatively speaking. I'm all for consistency. There's obviously 2 prior signs that are visible here. There may be others, I don't know the rest of the building. Were there variances provided for those, or do they not need it? It's tough to tell from the picture, if size-wise and comparative.
Through you, Chair. It's something I would look into. Coming into today's meeting, I did glance at it and scaled some of the sizing. One way to measure these signs is if it's just letters, you just measure to the letters, whereas in this case, they did want to make the sign a little bit bolder by putting that larger gray backing, so that's where that measurement came from. So I would likely presume that's what's tipping it over this 3.6 meters squared.
All right, Councillor Frake?
Just a quick question. I may have missed the answer while I was talking to the mayor there. So the photo you have in here is pretty much reminiscent of the sign, right? And it faces the QEW. From what I can see here.
Okay.
And I can't read it. What's on the sign? Is that what's going to be on the sign? What's on there? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, no question. Move on. Okay.
Mike, turn your mic on. Councillor Bradzi.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. I'm just wondering, was this typical for the two signs to the left on the same building? Was it the same process as well?
Sorry, the two signs, the previous IG Wealth sign, or are you referring to the DeSantis and the Salad Steel? Right. As I was explaining to Mr. Potter, I can only presume coming in, I don't have that information and I can dig into it, but coming into the meeting today, I did scale down some of the sign sizes, and the way we would take that measurement is to the letters for the other signs, whereas this is asking for a greater area because they want that gray backing on it, which is what I would believe to take it over that 3.6 square meters.
Right, yeah, having, being an expert in size of signs, yeah, I think that that's totally fine, and I don't have any issue with it at all. All right, moved by Councillor Bradzi, second by Councillor Frake. Resolve that report BLDG 23-02, 13 Windward Drive, Priority Permits Limited, signed bylaw variance dated September 20th, 2023 be received, and that council directs staff to grant a permit to Priority Permits Limited in accordance with the regulations in the Town of Grimsby's sign bylaw, and that the sign variance permit allows for a 147 square foot wall sign. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to, there was no correspondence, now we move to any other business? Seeing none, next Planning and Development Committee meeting is scheduled for October 3rd, 2023 at 5 p.m. The meeting is now adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you.